He also took good care of my mother, Candle. Jake glanced at his watch. "Time to shift," he said. We all stood and stretched. Maddie looked grateful to get onto some padding as she took her new seat by me. Jake took the crate. Rogelio and Charlie took the seat Jake and I had vacated. Some of the other passengers turned to look at us, though they should have been used to the drill by now. A couple of them were from Texoma, like we were. Then there were some older and more prosperous people, returning to Dixie from wherever they'd been. Lots of trains terminated in Dallas. Not too many went from Dallas to Dixie. There were 2 passengers I was keeping my eye on. They didn't fit in. The closest was a blonde woman, about 10 years older than me and Maddie. Both of us were around 19. She was dressed in a straight skirt and short-sleeved kind of tailored blouse, with a little hat and low heels. She was no Dixie woman for sure, and no Texoman neither. Either. I guessed Britannia. The other passenger to watch was bareheaded, short, and black-haired. He wasn't nearly as impressive, but he hummed with power. When he stood for a moment and I saw his vest, I knew for sure he was a Grigori, a Russian wizard. When I looked hard, I could see the ends of a tattoo above his collar. Another sign. Jake was crate-sitting, facing the west end of the car, with a line of sight over my shoulders. I heard that door open. Jake's hand went to his gun. The newcomer was a fancy man, dressed sharp like the blonde woman, and also wearing a hat. He took a seat by her, and they exchanged a few words. Jake turned to watch them. From the other end, 2 new men entered, and we all tensed. "Dressed too nice," Maddie muttered. "Dressed too new," I said. The 2 were young, early 20s, one blonde, one brown-headed. Everything they had on was brand spanking new. Levi's, shirts, gun belts, down to their cowboy boots. They'd gotten a payout of some kind. I stood with my rifle pointed at the blonde man, a step or 2 ahead of his friend. "Turn around, man, and go back where you came from," I said. "We don't want any trouble with civilians around." Unless the 2 were prepared to kill everyone in the car, there would be witnesses. I registered that the Grigori had stood and turned to watch. The 2 newcomers didn't seem to know there was a wizard at their back. Unless they were the wizard's employees, they were fools. I knew there was other movement in the train car, but I kept my eyes on blonde and brown, and passed them on the wizard. Everyone else had to shift for themselves. The wizard's hands went down. He was not protecting the 2. So they were idiots. Then a lot of things happened in a flash. The blonde one pulled his shiny new gun, and I killed him. The brown-headed one had drawn his weapon too, when Jake took him down. I kept the Winchester aimed at them, just in case. My eyes flicked around, trying to see what was going on around me. There was an old couple crouching low on the floor in the front of their seat, like the seat would protect them from a bullet. The fancy couple, both with guns in hand, looked down at the 2 dead men in the aisle right by them. The wizard had resumed sitting with his back to us like nothing had happened. A couple of other people were yelling, the usual, "Oh my God," and "What happened?" Didn't take too long for the train staff to get there, and Jake took over the task of explaining. All the rest of us lowered our weapons and sat down, so we wouldn't look like we were going to shoot someone else. Maddie and I ended up carrying the bodies to a freight car. Guess Rogelio didn't want to get his hands dirty, and Jake was still talking. Charlie was sitting on the crate. After we'd gotten Brown deposited by Blonde, we took the opportunity of going through their pockets. They were both 20, both lived in Shreveport, and they had a lot of cash, which Maddie and I appropriated since they didn't need it anymore. This was not something I usually did, but it was either we got it or the railway people. Maddie saw the picture in my wallet as I put the money away. "Who's the baby?" she said. "Yours?" "No, a friend's." Not strictly true, but I didn't